All right, welcome back. So we're going to start a new project here using Bootstrap. I wanted to make something that didn't look very bootstrappy. And the whole idea of this website, it's called Museum of Candy. It's for a fictional Instagram museum. I'm doing air quotes, but you probably can't see me do that when I say museum. There are these things, at least in the big cities in the US, that have been popping up where you pay money and you wait in line and you walk through a couple of rooms that are decorated in lots of colors and different props, and you take pictures, usually for Instagram. And I'm not a huge fan personally because I'm kind of disappointed by them because they have names like Museum of Candy. That's a fictional one. But then it's not really a museum of candy, and I want to go to a museum of candy. I love candy, or whatever the other things are. So I'm kind of disappointed in that. I'd love to go to a real museum of candy and try a bunch of them, learn the history, but no, it's just a bunch of photos. But to be clear, Museum of Candy is not a real company. It's fictional. Here's the website. I went for sort of a trendy look, minimal, light pastel colors, some nice photos that I found that we can actually use for free. So the site doesn't really say much as far as the content. The copy is very basic. It's just lorem ipsum, actually, aside from this block of headers here. But it is very responsive. You'll notice there's a nav bar up here. It changes color as I hover, but it's transparent at the moment, and as soon as I scroll, it fills in. So that's a nice little trick. It also is fixed to the top. It's not terribly difficult to do. Then we have this heading section just with the title of our Museum of Candy, fancy little trendy slashes. We've got this photo on the right. Then the main layout of the page is these large square photos that we force to be square. And then on the right, we have text and an icon and some more text centered vertically as well. And that's pretty much it. But then you'll see that it's nice and responsive. And at some point, this text completely goes away, and we end up with this taking up 100%. It looks nice, and keep going further. So you can see that our content scales relatively nicely, and then we hit this breakpoint here where things stack. So our text goes above the images. Text goes above the images, and that actually requires a little bit of work because you'll probably notice here, for example, the image is on the left. It comes first, and then we have the text. Then this text comes first before this image, so they're sort of alternating. But then when we collapse it, you'll see that the text always goes on top of the corresponding image. So that involves a little bit of work. Bootstrap makes it easy to do that, but we have to add some classes to change the order once things collapse. And in addition, the nav bar does shrink down and collapse into this. We could add a background if you prefer. I thought it looked kind of nice because we have this dead, empty, negative space here. And that's honestly it. So it's not terribly difficult, but it's not that obvious that it's made with Bootstrap. There's none of the default components, none of the fonts, the colors, none of the buttons. The only thing I guess is the icon right here to toggle it. But otherwise, everything is pretty customized, and even if it's simple, I think it looks pretty nice and trendy these days. These photos, by the way, are from a website called Unsplash. I've mentioned it before. Great resource, free, and they're open to be used for whatever purposes, commercial or non-commercial. I put some of my own photos up there, and yeah, I just highly recommend checking it out. So that's our goal here, to create this layout where if we think about the grid involved here, it's not that challenging, or it doesn't seem challenging. This is 50%, 50%, 50%, 50%. One thing I didn't hit on yet, this icon does disappear right there. See, it goes away. It takes up too much space, so I just got rid of it, and we get to use that display utility to take care of it. Anyway, we're going to start in the next video with the nav bar and the background color. Let me just quickly run through the starter code. So here's what you have in this folder, Museum of Candy. There's the final and the starter. So we're working with the starter, and it contains index.html. I already gave you Bootstrap, but I also included the font we use. It's called Nunito, however you pronounce it. I included the font, and Bootstrap is in here, and there's a custom style sheet that is currently empty. I just added it in so we have a place to work. And other than that, it's just a plain template to start on. There is an images folder that contains the images. I don't think they're going to load in here, but there's this first image, we'll go over them, and there's also an image for the icon right here. So in the next video, we'll start the project, but I just wanted to introduce it here. We're going to begin with the nav bar and getting it to become transparent, change the font. There's a bunch of things we have to do to make it look nice. All right, that's coming up.